Picture this: a lush jungle landscape dotted with towering pyramids, grand plazas, and intricate stone carvings, the remnants of one of history's most fascinating civilizations. A culture that mapped the stars with remarkable precision, invented one of the world's most sophisticated writing systems, and then seemingly vanished at the height of their power. I'm talking about the Maya, a civilization whose mysteries continue to captivate and confound us today. You're watching History Deciphered with Nathan Gale. Now let's get started. When we think of ancient civilizations, we often focus on Rome, Egypt, or China. But tucked away in the dense rainforests of Mesoamerica, the Maya built something truly extraordinary. Their civilization flourished for over 3,000 years, from about 2000 BCE to 1500 CE, across what's now Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. They weren't just building impressive structures, they were developing profound knowledge of astronomy, complex mathematical systems, and the most advanced writing system in pre-Columbian Americas. And yet, despite all these achievements, their classic civilization experienced a dramatic decline around 800 to 900 CE that still puzzles researchers today. Today, we're diving into three interconnected mysteries of Maya civilization. Their intricate calendar systems that tracked time with mind-boggling precision, their sophisticated hieroglyphic writing that remained undeciphered until relatively recently, and the puzzling collapse of their classic civilization. These aren't just academic curiosities. They're windows into understanding how advanced societies operate, evolve, and sometimes transform in ways we never expected. Let's start with the Maya calendar system. Honestly, one of the most misunderstood aspects of their civilization, especially after all that 2012 end-of-the-world nonsense. The Maya didn't have just one calendar. They had multiple interlocking calendar systems that worked together with remarkable precision. Their timekeeping wasn't just practical, it was deeply spiritual, reflecting their cyclical view of time and their connection to cosmic forces. The Maya believed that time itself had divine qualities, that certain days carried specific energies and meanings. The precision they achieved with these systems was just remarkable. They calculated the solar year as 365.2420 days, incredibly close to the modern calculation of 365.2422 days. They could predict solar and lunar eclipses centuries in advance, and they did all this without telescopes, computers, or even metal tools. Inscriptions at sites like Copan, Palenque, and Tikal reveal astronomical calculations of staggering complexity and accuracy. I mean, these weren't just casual sky watchers. They were dedicated astronomers with generational knowledge passed down and refined over centuries. And about that 2012 apocalypse theory, completely misunderstood. The date simply marked the completion of a 13 Baktun cycle in the long count calendar, approximately 5,126 years. For the Maya, this wasn't an end, but a transition, like moving from one century to another. They actually had calculations going thousands of years beyond 2012. The whole doomsday interpretation was a modern invention that completely missed the point of how Maya understood cyclical time. Now let's talk about their writing system, which is absolutely fascinating. Maya hieroglyphic writing represents the only fully developed writing system known in the pre-Columbian Americas. It consisted of around 800 glyphs that combined logographic elements, symbols representing whole words, with syllabic components. This wasn't just decorative. It was a complete writing system capable of expressing anything that could be said in spoken Maya languages. For centuries after the Spanish conquest, these writings remained a mystery. Spanish missionaries, particularly Bishop Diego de Landa, destroyed countless Maya codices, considering them works of the devil. Imagine burning the equivalent of an entire national library. That's essentially what happened. The few surviving codices and the numerous stone inscriptions remained unreadable until the 20th century. The breakthrough came in the 1950s when Soviet linguist Yuri Knorozov proposed that Maya glyphs had phonetic values. Building on his work, scholars like Tatiana Proskoryakov demonstrated that these weren't just calendrical or religious texts. They contained historical narratives about actual rulers and events. By the 1980s, significant progress allowed researchers to read about 90% of Maya texts. This decipherment completely transformed our understanding of Maya civilization. We discovered detailed records of royal successions, military conquests, political alliances, and dynastic marriages. We learned the names of kings and queens, their birth dates, the dates they ascended to power, their great military victories, and even their deaths. These weren't anonymous ancient people anymore. They became historical figures with names and stories. The stone monuments suddenly became voices from the past, telling us about Maya history in their own words. The decipherment revealed that Maya society was far more politically complex and historically conscious than previously recognized. They weren't the peaceful astronomer priests once imagined, but a collection of competitive city-states with complex political relationships, dynastic rivalries, and sophisticated diplomatic networks. Recent technological advances like hyperspectral imaging have revealed previously invisible inscriptions, while three-dimensional scanning helps reconstruct fragmented texts, continually expanding our understanding of their literary achievements. So we have this incredible civilization with precise astronomical knowledge, sophisticated writing, monumental architecture, extensive trade networks. And then something happens. Around 800 to 900 CE, during what archaeologists call the Terminal Classic Period, Maya civilization in the southern lowlands experiences a dramatic transformation. Major cities are abandoned. Monumental construction ceases. Population levels plummet by up to 90% in some regions. And for a long time, this so-called collapse was one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. So what happened? Well, the answer isn't simple, and this is where it gets really interesting. For decades, archaeologists proposed competing theories: warfare, foreign invasion, peasant rebellion, environmental degradation, disease. But recent research suggests it wasn't any single factor, but rather a perfect storm of challenges that overwhelmed Maya society. Environmental factors definitely played a crucial role. Paleoclimatic data from lake sediments and cave formations provide compelling evidence for severe, prolonged droughts during this period. Studies of lake sediments from the Yucatan Peninsula show decreased rainfall, coinciding with the timing of the collapse. And the Maya's intensive agricultural practices, including deforestation for farmland and lime production, needed for their massive construction projects, likely made a bad situation worse. They were pushing their environment to its limits, and when severe drought hit, the system couldn't adapt quickly enough. But climate alone doesn't explain everything. Political and social factors were equally important. Archaeological evidence shows increasing warfare and competition between Maya city-states in the late Classic period. Monument inscriptions record more and more military campaigns, while defensive walls around settlements became increasingly common. The institution of divine kingship, where rulers claimed special connections to the gods and were expected to ensure agricultural abundance, may have become deeply unstable when these kings couldn't deliver during environmental stress. Economic factors likely contributed too. Disruptions in trade networks, potentially caused by the rise of non-Maya powers like Teotihuacan, earlier and later the Toltecs, may have strained Maya economic systems. Most scholars now favor what we call a systemic collapse model that integrates multiple factors. Environmental challenges triggered cascading effects within an already stressed political system where elite competition and resource overexploitation had created vulnerabilities. It's less about a single cause and more about how societies respond to multiple stresses occurring simultaneously. When systems are resilient, they can adapt to challenges. When they're already stretched thin, even relatively small additional pressures can trigger major transformations. The consequences transformed Maya civilization. Population densities in the southern lowlands declined dramatically. Archaeological evidence shows abandoned cities reclaimed by forest, with elite architectural construction virtually ceasing. The institution of divine kingship largely disappeared from the southern lowlands. Power structures shifted toward more collective forms of governance in some regions, as evidenced by changes in monumental architecture from single ruler commemoration to more communal spaces. But here's something crucial that often gets overlooked. Despite these dramatic changes, Maya civilization didn't completely disappear. Northern cities in the Yucatan Peninsula, such as Chichen Itza and later Mayapan, actually flourished during the post-classic period from 900 to 1500 CE, though with different political organizations. Maya communities in the highlands of Guatemala and Chiapas maintained greater stability through the collapse period, and today, approximately 7 million Maya descendants still live in Mexico and Central America, maintaining aspects of their cultural heritage, languages, and traditional practices. This brings us to an important point about how we understand Maya history. Our interpretation has undergone significant transformations over time. Early Spanish accounts provided valuable but biased information. 19th century explorers often portrayed Maya ruins through a romanticized lens as mysterious lost cities. Mid-20th century scholars initially characterized Maya society as a peaceful theocracy of astronomer priests with limited warfare or political complexity, a view completely overturned by the decipherment of Maya writing. Contemporary scholarship now employs interdisciplinary methods combining archaeology, epigraphy, paleoclimatology, and ethnography. Current research emphasizes Maya agency and resilience rather than catastrophic failure. The story isn't about a civilization that mysteriously vanished, but about a society that transformed in response to multiple challenges, some of its own making, others beyond its control. And we need to consider contemporary Maya perspectives as well. Many Maya communities emphasize continuity rather than collapse, viewing ancient sites as part of an unbroken heritage. Modern Maya calendar practitioners in the Guatemala highlands, known as daykeepers, continue to use the Tzolk'in calendar for divination and ritual timing. For many contemporary Maya, ancient sites remain spiritually significant places. Collaborative archaeological projects increasingly incorporate indigenous Maya perspectives and knowledge systems. The renewed interest in Maya calendrics has supported cultural revitalization movements among Maya communities, particularly in Guatemala, where Maya dates are increasingly incorporated into community celebrations and political discourse. These diverse perspectives highlight the evolving nature of our understanding and the importance of integrating multiple forms of knowledge in interpreting the past. So what can we learn from the Maya story? First, that civilizations are remarkably complex systems with multiple interconnected parts. Second, that societies can be both incredibly innovative and deeply vulnerable at the same time. The Maya created astronomical calculations of remarkable precision and built magnificent cities while simultaneously pushing their environment to its limits. And third, that collapse doesn't necessarily mean complete disappearance. Societies transform, adapt, and continue, often in ways we might not immediately recognize. The mysteries of the Maya calendar, writing system, and societal transformation continue to fascinate us because they speak to universal human experiences, our desire to understand time and our place in the cosmos, our need to record our stories and histories, and our ongoing struggle to build societies that can withstand the challenges of a changing world. As research methods advance and collaborative approaches between scholars and indigenous communities grow, our understanding of these enduring mysteries will undoubtedly continue to evolve, reminding us that history is never simply a completed narrative, but a continuing dialogue between past and present. So, the next time you hear someone talk about the mysterious disappearance of the Maya, you can set them straight. They didn't disappear. They transformed, and their descendants carry on their legacy today, a testament to the resilience of human culture, even in the face of profound challenges. The real mystery of the Maya isn't why they vanished, but how much of their worldview, their knowledge, and their understanding remains relevant to our own struggles with sustainability, climate change, and social resilience. In that sense, the Maya aren't just a fascinating episode from our past. They're a powerful lens through which to view our present and future.